It's working? Okay. Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Committee of Conference for House Bill 281. I'm Representative Michael Vose, chairing this committee on behalf of the House conferees. The House conferees today are Representative Douglas Thomas, Representative Kat McGee, and Representative Michael Harrington. The Senate conferees are Senator Kevin Avard and Senator David Waters, and possibly someone else.
Birdsell?
Senator Birdsell.
She's on her way.
She's on her way, so we hear. And the third Senate conferee is Senator Birdsell. Welcome, Senator. So I'd like to start this morning's conference with a few remarks about compromise and bipartisanship. Yesterday, Governor Sununu signed the state budget. He, Senator Bradley, Senator Soucy, Speaker Packard, and Representative Wilhelm made some comments during the course of the signing ceremony. And the governor, in particular, talked about how this budget was achieved with a lot of compromise and a lot of bipartisanship. Senator Bradley at one point even said, compromise is not a dirty word, a four-letter word. And I've been thinking about that overnight and realizing that compromise is the art of giving a little and getting a little. And there's no person that I have seen recently in this legislature who is better at that than Senator David Waters. He is a consummate compromiser. And Senator Waters, I know, was instrumental in helping to put together the compromise that we have before us in House Bill 281. And so I commend Senator Waters for his work on this bill. I have learned a lot about how to compromise by interacting with Senator Waters. I respect him greatly, and I appreciate all you do for your constituents and for the legislature as a whole.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm embarrassed, and it's just it's a team. You're seeing a Senate team, and I know you have a House team, and it's difficult, but that's the spirit of why we're all here, and that's what this is a difficult bill. And
well, we thank you.
It has proven so, and but the Senate position is here, and I think it's because we worked very hard to get to something that not just we felt we could legislatively bring forward, but that would have the support of the agencies and the governor. But here we are. But I appreciate your words, Mr. Chairman.
And we thank you for the hard work you've done. There's a lot of talk about bipartisanship. Bipartisanship means both sides come together and they agree to do something. And even though there's a lot of talk about it, you don't see a lot of bipartisanship actually happening when the opportunity presents itself. But in my mind, HB 281 is a great opportunity for us to show some bipartisanship. We each give a little, and we each get a little. And that's the way legislation moves forward. I've been in the House now for 9 years, and I've watched the progression of pieces of legislation, obviously mostly in the energy sector, but in other parts of statute as well. And nothing big typically happens in a given year. Small steps, year by year, are what determine what good policy looks like. It's a constant process of revision. And House Bill 281, I think, is a bill that implements several small steps that get us to a better policy position than we were in before. Now, there were 23 members of the Senate who said they wanted this bill to pass, and there were 176 members of the House who said they wanted this bill to pass. That's 199 legislators. There was one member of the Senate and 180 members of the House who said they did not want it to pass. That's 181, which leaves us with a net of plus 18 people who wanted this bill to pass and go forward. So here we sit with 7 people who are charged with making the wishes of those 199 legislators who want this bill to pass, figuring out how to make that happen. And so that's why we're here for this committee of conference this morning. So those are my opening remarks about this committee of conference. I will make one other remark. There was a misunderstanding about what this meeting was by some people. Apparently, they didn't realize it was a committee of conference. They thought it was a public meeting on House Bill 281. And so some people came prepared this morning to offer testimony about HB 281, which we cannot accept. And I apologize to people for that misunderstanding, if there was such a misunderstanding. But it's just not the nature of a committee of conference that you accept testimony from outside parties. So with that said, I would open the floor to members, conferees, to have a discussion about how you want to move forward with House Bill 281. Senator Avard.
I'm just I'm in awe that we're at this point, because I was listening to you on the floor, and I thought you spoke very eloquently about this particular bill, and as you just spoke, and the opportunity lies right here with a lot of people in agreement, and hopefully the governor as well, to expand net metering and municipal hosts. I mean, it's I don't know if we're going to get this opportunity again. I'm hoping if there is room for room for compromise, we can do it. But I thought we really laid a good foundation here, and I was kind of floored that we're here. To be frank with you, I'm hoping we could still move forward and in a positive light. And we've had a lot of success in the last few days with that same spirit. And I'm all ears.
Thank you, Senator. Anybody else have comments that they'd like to make? Representative McGee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's been very fun to hear everybody speak on the bill. It's a process going through. I'm the person who stood up in opposition to concurrence on 281. And so I brought an amendment this morning that I'd like to just explain to folks about what the exceptions were for the people who were opposed in the House, and just for consideration of whether or not we can make it an even better bill. I have copies here, so I can send them around. The chair's got one, and can send those that way. Here's another one for you, Doug. So the 2 items that I would propose that we remove from the bill are the ones that are not central to, I think, the original intent of the bill. The section 3, which is Representative Thomas's bill originally, that asked us to put the cost of the renewable portfolio standards on everyone's electric bill on their December bill. It would be a annual total. The original point of the bill was to create transparency for the customers so they would have an understanding of what the RPS charges were. And the way the bill worked out through the process is that it would have cost some money to create an individual summary for every bill. And so the utilities came back and said, we'll take an average user's bill, we'll average the RPS charge, and we'll put that cumulative average charge on every bill. And the exception that we had in the House was that rather than lending transparency to the bill, it would not be the actual charge that the customer was charged. So everyone's bill would have a cost on there, but it could be higher or lower than what you actually paid. And we thought that would be more confusing and that it wouldn't actually achieve the goal. So that was the argument that we made on the House floor. And so that was HB 251. That was part of 281. So it was 1/5 of this bill, but it also was heard separately, and it lost in the House when the argument was made that it would not contribute to transparency, that it might really confuse people further, because the amount could be more or less than what you were charged, and how well would the customer be able to interpret that? So we thought it was confusing. So that's number 3 in the amended analysis list of what's in the bill. And then number 4 is the dissolution of the EASY Board, the Energy Efficiency and Sustainable Energy Board. And that's a board that Chairman Vose and I both serve on, as well as Senator Avard. The board has been in service basically to the state for 15 years. So it was instituted in 2008. And there were hearings on the EASY Board. I was out on medical leave at the time. So I never really got to speak to what I thought about the EASY Board, but sort of the arguments against it seem to be that it's, not needed. And in a recent meeting a month ago, one of our members, Matt Siska, who's from an engineering firm that does energy efficiency work, did a presentation on the impediments to New Hampshire's clean energy workforce, and talked about how that's going to be something that's going to be preventing us from being able to move forward with plans that we're trying to implement. So just like everyone else is having workforce issues, the clean energy sector also has those. So it was an incredible slide deck. Everybody was very impressed with it. He had been working on it for weeks. And at the same time, Doria Brown, who's the energy manager for the city of Nashua, had been heading up a subcommittee that the House and Senate had asked, with the passage of Senate Bill 549, the EASY Board to take on. They asked us to stop doing the triennial energy report that recommended what we should be investing in the New Hampshire Saves program. So they put into statute that would now be handled by a calculation that was adopted with that bill. And they asked us to take a pot of money that was funded by that bill and go forward and create an energy efficiency plan for reaching out to the public on the benefits of energy efficiency. So we had this subcommittee headed up again by Doria Brown that was working on an RFP. And so the discussions recently in the EASY Board were that the DOE was prepared to take over that RFP and move with it from there. But what I would like to say on behalf of this particular change is, one of the reasons that the House, or the majority, or the members that voted last Thursday were opposed to the way 281 came to us, is that 2 of the items in the bill, including the EASY Board change, were bills that were retained in committee, right? So we made the argument to them. These bills never got through the House. They didn't have a full vote through the House. So they were kind of plucked out of retained committee status and put into 281. So that was an objection that we made, and that, I guess, worked by a couple of votes. So where we're at is that we are eliminating a vibrant board of experts who bring incredibly relevant experience to the table in fulsome conversation around energy issues, which are not any less complex today than they were in 2008. And in our last meeting, Kate Peters from Eversource, who has been on the board the entire time and has taken various leadership roles over the years, stated how valuable it is and how other states don't do it this way, that she has a place where she can have firsthand conversations with community action agencies and New Hampshire builders and all the other folks who are giving of their time. So what I want to propose is that we remove that section as well, leave the bill in its retained status in the House, and allow us to try and determine in a bill that would be an early bill for January, what the new charge of the Easy Board should be, rather than disbanding them when they're in the middle of working for us. Perhaps they could morph into grid mod, which I think was suggested by one of our watchers here. We're looking to put together other boards of experts to try and help us with grid modernization. Perhaps that could be, the new charge for this group of people, rather than letting them go, because it implied in dissolving that board is that they're not needed, and I would propose that they still are. So so that would leave us with the least cost integrated resource planning repeal would be maintained, and the municipal host expansion for municipalities would be maintained, and the proposed SEC changes would be maintained. So that the two things that are kind of not like the others would be removed. I know, it's a lot, but
Okay.
that's my explanation.
Well, thank you for explaining that.
Sure.
Is there any discussion of that proposal, or is there a motion on that proposal?
I noticed that the least cost integrated the resource
Planning? Yep.
planning, yeah. I don't know if you were there in committee when we were talking about that and how that, in some respects, it is outdated and is not as effective. And I believe we made a commitment, both myself with Senator Waters and Representative Vose, how that we would readdress this particular issue next session.
Yep.
But-
That is unaffected by what I'm proposing.
Right.
Yeah.
That stays in, right?
Yeah.
Removal of that. stays
Yep.
in.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, I think I understand that is the compromise, right?
That's
That is
one of them.
that is the
That is
goal.
definitely one.
Yeah.
I'm curious, have you spoken with the executive branch at all as about their disposition on this? Because
No, I
after
don't
all,
get a lot of opportunity.
they're gonna have to assign it, or, what is, have you worked with them at all on this?
No. No.
So Representative McGee, do you want to make a motion about this
Sure.
amendment?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we have a vote on whether or not to accept the amendment in order to
We vote
street.
each body votes separate.
What's that?
Each body.
Each body votes separately.
Right.
But before we can vote, period, we need a second to your motion.
Oh, okay.
Does anybody second that motion?
Everyone's holding their powder.
Seeing none, the motion
Fails.
will not go forward.
Okay,
The motion
thank you.
fails. So I would like to now recognize Representative Doug Thomas. And Representative Thomas, I think, wants to make a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My motion is that the House recedes from its position of non-concur and accedes to the Senate amendments and agrees to the passage of the bill as amended by the Senate.
So is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
That motion has been made and seconded. Possible. And before we vote on that motion, I'm going to request a conferee break of 15 minutes.
Okay.
And we vote, and Mr. Chairman, I guess we seconded over here, but we vote separately on the motion, so.
The motion is on the table.
Yeah, okay. Fine. Thank you.
We're going to take a caucus break of 15 minutes, and we will return at 10:35.
Okay.
To finish our session.
Thank you.
I forgot to turn on my mic, so I'll repeat what I just said. We're going to take a caucus break for 15 minutes, and we will return to complete the business of this committee of conference at 10:35. Thank you. Resume the committee of conference on House Bill 281. I will remind the members that there is a motion on the floor. The motion reads, "The House recedes from its position of non-concur and accedes to the Senate amendments and agrees to the passage of the bill as amended by the Senate." Is there any need for discussion on this motion? Seeing none, I'll ask the members of the House to vote. Representative Harrington,
In favor?
Representative McGee,
Aye.
Representative Thomas,
Yes.
Representative Vos votes yes. Members of the Senate. So the motion passes. The House recedes from its position of non-concur and accedes to the Senate amendments and agrees to the passage of the bill as amended by the Senate. And I thank you all for your participation in this committee of conference. It was an excellent discussion, and we have lots of work to do going forward in fixing some of the things that this bill has changed. So that will happen next year, and we'll look forward to that discussion. So thank you all for attending.
If I may say, Mr. Chairman, that I'm sure that, and having had some conversation with Senator Avard and other members of ENR, that we are fully committed to doing the things to work together and quickly to do some of the things we need to do. So thank you.
We'll co-sponsor if we need to.
Excellent, excellent. And we have members of the public who have submitted some good ideas, and we look forward to examining those in the coming months. So we thank you for that.
Mr. Chairman, I would just say one thing. I think, we've done a lot of work on the site evaluation committee, and just for public dissertation, I was at the FERC meeting yesterday up in Portland, and a lot of people up there expressed a lot of concern about siting in New England and New Hampshire specifically as well. And I'm not saying that this is the perfect fix to everything, but I think it's a step in the right direction. And I'd certainly encourage everybody to look at, is there ways we can make it better? Because regardless of what you want to build, siting is going to be, and I think people are coming to this realization, this is going to be the big issue. Whether you're building offshore wind, you still need to build transmission someplace. People sometimes think, oh, we have all this offshore wind, and it'll just appear in our house somehow. Whether it's solar, whether it's natural gas, I don't know what the project is, it's all going to involve siting. And we've got to make the siting so it protects our environment and our state, but also makes things possible without taking years and years and years to get it, because that just scares investors off and they won't come here.
Well said. And with that, we'll adjourn. And I thank you all again. Thank you.